African politics might never be the same after this video. If all Africans implement what I'm about to share in this video, those African leaders or presidents that overstay in power might never desire to stay longer than their designated terms of office. See, when it comes to Africa, we have presidents like Theodore Obiang, who's from Equatorial Guinea. He's been in office for 47 years. I mean, just imagine that. Then when we look at other presidents like Paul Biya, he's been in office for 44 years in Cameroon. Then Denis Nguesso from Republic of the Congo, he's been in office for 40 years. Then Yoweri Museveni from Uganda, he's been in office for 40 years. And then when we go to Eritrea, Isaiah Afwerki has been president for 33 years. I mean, just imagine that. Do these people think they are kings or what? Because there is one common thing about all these countries. They are all underdeveloped and very poor countries. So this should tell these leaders that, you know what? You are not doing enough. So they probably need to leave power. So in this video, I want to share the 3 things that us as Africans can do to actually push these people out of power and maybe prevent any other future leaders from actually overstaying in power. Because I've studied, and the main reason Africa remains underdeveloped is simply because of the leaders that overstay in power. So maybe if leadership keeps changing on the continent, probably we shall have more development and basically have the continent move to the next level, at least a middle income status when it comes to our economies. And of course, if you get some value from the video, please like the video and as well subscribe so that every time we put out a new video, you do not miss out. Now, in my opinion, the very first thing that needs to be done is civil disobedience. Now, of course, when it comes to this, it must be done on a mass scale. But also, this is where you need to pay very good attention. It should be done in a non-violent way, countrywide. Let's say if there's a country that is undergoing such oppression, or basically a country that has had a leader overstaying power for very long times or long periods of time, then they should actually massively protest in a way that is non-violent. Now, when it comes to the way this has to be implemented, it has to be through the civic organizations in that particular country, or maybe you could look at youth groups, because there are so many youths in most of these countries that I've just mentioned. And maybe when it comes to the African continent, you can see that the average population in most of these countries is below the age of 30. So the youth are so many in these countries. So if the youth can actually form up groups that are going to actually be able to implement this, this would be the right thing to do. Now, of course, civil disobedience can take up different forms. What I like to use best, or what I believe can best apply when it comes to this, is boycotting anything to do with the current regime. Let's say if you have a regime that you know is very oppressive, it has overstayed in power, maybe it's dictatorial in a way or authoritarian, those kinds of regimes, they don't like these boycotts. You basically boycott anything that is attached to the government. Let's say if you know that there's someone who is pro-government, try and not buy from that person. Just move to the next person that you know is pro-change. So basically that alone will incapacitate the people in that government or in that particular regime to basically show them that, you know what, the people do not like us. So we basically just deny them the opportunity to actually do business in that country. Because this is what's very interesting. When it comes to all these dictatorial regimes, the money that you use to maybe support their businesses, this could be through hotels or maybe transport, the transport network in the country, or any other kind of business that they might be operating in that country, try and not go there, because the money they get from you by maybe you going to these hotels or using their transport services, the money that you give them is the money they actually use to oppress you as the locals. So if you can decide that, you know what, we are not going to actually use your services, we are not going to support your businesses, that alone can actually cripple these regimes, because most of the people that actually in the government offices or in these big offices in these countries, those are the people that actually own most of the businesses in the countries. So you just boycott and basically buy from the other people that you know are pro-change. So that alone can actually cripple these regimes, and they would feel the pressure. They will basically feel the pressure within, and at some point they will just give up and they quit leadership. Now, of course, we've previously seen these boycotts work in countries like South Africa, where there was the apartheid regime basically late in the 70s, 60s and 80s. We saw that work so well because South Africans, they decided they were not going to buy anything from these people, and that actually crippled the regime, and that apartheid regime was finally able to fall or collapse. For the second way of getting rid of these regimes that overstay in power would be strict continental enforcement. Now, of course, this has to be done through organizations like the African Union, but this is what's interesting about Africa. When it comes to the African Union, it's one of those powerless organizations that we have on the continent. So first and foremost, the African Union has to be restructured to basically put people there that are actually serving the continent, not serving individual leaders, because when it comes to most of the presidents that have overstayed in power, they basically pay huge sums to the people at this African Union to basically enable them overstay even much longer. So if there's any kind of oppression going on in these African countries, the African Union doesn't come out to actually say anything. If there is vote rigging or anything like that, the African Union just keeps quiet. So first and foremost, what has to be done is for the African Union to be restructured. Now, once this has been done, every country that, let's say, tampers with their constitution to try and change maybe term limits, that should be treated as immediately as possible as something dubious. So basically, there should be consequences, like maybe immediate sanctions to that country, because that alone shows that that particular regime wants to stay in power longer than the mandate that was given. So heavy sanctions have to be put on those particular presidents for those countries. It's through these diplomatic sanctions that those leaders will actually feel the weight and say that, you know what, we shouldn't touch the constitution. We should leave everything to remain just the way we found it when we came into power. Now, of course, there's a common occurrence amongst all these countries that I've just mentioned, with presidents that have been in power for more than 30 years. They've tampered with their constitutions again and again, simply because they want to overstay in power. Now, to get rid of that, if the African Union, for example, or regional blocs like, let's say, the ECOWAS or the SADC or maybe the East African Union, if all these regional organizations actually sat down and said whoever tampers with their constitution, there are sanctions to actually be levied or basically put on that particular country, that alone would scare these presidents from actually changing their term limits. And of course, this would end up benefiting those particular countries and the African continent at large. Now, the third and final way of getting rid of these leaders that overstay in power would be institutional independence. Now, of course, this is not an easy thing to do, but it has to be done right when these leaders actually come into power. You must, as a country, have a very strong constitution that anyone that actually tries to tamper with it, that leader would have to be impeached or something like that, because that alone would send a clear message from the nationals that, you know what, we do not want what you're about to do, because there's no reason whatsoever for actually changing the constitution. When you look at most of the constitutions or the original constitutions of these countries, most of these constitutions were very good constitutions, but because these leaders come in and then basically they try to play around with everything in the constitution to try and serve their own personal benefits. So there's a high need for institutional independence, let's say the Electoral Commission, maybe the judiciary, because these are played with so much when it comes to these leaders that want to overstay in power. And then Institutions like the parliament, the police, the military, all these need to be independent institutions so that they are not tampered with to basically benefit the leaders in power. I can tell you that for most of the African countries, when it comes to many of these institutions, they don't operate independently. For example, the Electoral Commission, they can actually organize an election and it has to end in a way that the leader in power must win that particular election, because it's that leader in power that actually appoints these people. So just imagine someone has appointed you and you end up actually declaring them as someone who's lost the election. Do you think that's very possible? So of course, there needs to be some changes when it comes to most of these institutions so that they operate independently. And then with most of the parliaments in these African countries, they all subscribe to the leader in power simply because they bribe them to pass these oppressive laws that end up oppressing the citizens of those countries. So if these institutions were actually independent, it would be very, very good for the African continent. Now, I believe that if all what I've just shared is actually implemented, Africa would be in a much better place and we would not have all these leaders actually overstaying in power, because by the time you spend 40 years in power, what exactly are you doing? Assuming you, let's say, came to power at the age of 40, after 40 years, you're 80 years. At 80 years exactly, what do you think you are going to bring as fresh or new to your country? There's nothing you can actually bring to your country at the age of 80, because let's look or put it in normal terms. If let's say someone came to your office and they want a job at 80 years, would you employ that particular person? I'm sure not. So why would you trust an entire country, an entire economy with such a person? So we need to rethink as Africans to basically try and better our continent as Africans, because if we don't do this, there's no one who is going to come and save us. Now, for more education about the African continent, I suggest you check out this next video where I even teach you much more about the continent.